I'm not able to see attendees. You guys want to wait a little more before I start?
No, I think go.
Okay. So good morning, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the first webinar of our series, Sourcing Trends on the Future of Mice. My name is Sonia, and I'm spearheading the initiatives of HSMAI in India as we expand into the region. This webinar is co-hosted with our sponsor, Cvent, which, as you all know, is the leading meetings, events, and hospitality technology provider. Cvent is also an event marketing and management platform offering software solutions to the event organizers and attendee management as well. Next slide, again. I will take a few minutes to talk about HSMAI for those of you who are not familiar with us. So we are a non-profit global association of sales, marketing, revenue management professionals, and also the operational heads of the hospitality brands. We were founded in 1927. We operate through individual membership, 7,000 members from 41 countries worldwide and still growing. Glenn, the next one, please. So HSMAI has primarily become the industry champion in identifying and communicating trends in the hospitality industry for our members and for our partners. Our participation involves certifications, attendance to our events, training, networking, a whole host of events for career development in the hotel and the hospitality industry across our region, Asia Pacific. Glenn, the next one, please. So our signature event, which is ROC, the Revenue Optimization Conference, we had this after a gap of 2 years in Singapore at Marina Bay Sands in June, where we actually had 150 plus hotel industry professionals and leaders who came to talk about all things commercial and more. As you can see, this was a first in-person event, and not only for us, but also for a majority of attendees. It was exciting, of course, to catch up with everyone once the borders started opening. But what we found was a lot of collaborative learning and sharing because so much has changed and evolved in our industry. There were a lot of valuable updates and key takeaways. Glenn, the next one, please. So we operate in 8 different markets, as you can see. And I want to talk a bit about the HSMAI Foundation. It's our charity arm, and it is funded mainly by big hotel brands and legacy gifts from hoteliers. So our mission here is to elevate the overall caliber and the performance of the sales, marketing, and revenue management professionals in the global hospitality industry by encouraging and driving initiatives that will attract talent, develop the emerging talent, as well as engage the existing talent. And in 2017, we launched the Academy to address the gaps that we could see in learning available for the hotel staff who were working in and wanting to work in the fields of marketing, revenue management, and sales. So our first program was actually built with the help of senior hoteliers as the certificate in revenue management, a highly coveted certificate and recognized the world over. It's 100% online. It comprises of 10 courses and modules designed to provide hands-on learning with people who have less than 3 years of experience, or those who are managing revenue management professionals, but don't have the practical revenue background for it. So our focus on sales, marketing, and revenue, all the commercial disciplines of the hotel industry, we actually cover all levels from entry level to the experts. And our offerings entail a range of courses, learning experiences online, face-to-face workshops, certifications, and of course, qualifications. So our endeavor is to help offer specialized content that can help you accelerate your sales, inspire your marketing, and optimize revenue. These are all made by thought leaders of the industry, by the industry, for the industry. Glenn, the next one. So what do we have coming up? Just to update you on what all we are doing going forward. So do mark your calendars, unique opportunity to see hotel leaders in digital marketing, commercial, revenue management, and sales in Southeast Asia, who will share their insights and their knowledge, and especially best practices in resort digital marketing, online presence, and revenue optimization. So the program focuses on how you can drive the next phase of your hotel's growth, what are the tools, etc. So if you can, do join us for the workshop. Both are one after the other in charming Phuket. Just a little bit more on the revenue and digital training workshop. It's going to actually give you you'll be able to work on real strategies for your own properties. So the certification is in revenue management, and you actually get to develop actionable plans for your property. So for those of you who could not attend the revenue optimization conference, we actually did a series of micro learnings in the form of video bites and online webinars. So these are coming to you in the form of these webinars that we do, as well as master classes. So we have the next one starting 22nd September and going all the way till October. If you miss the ones in the revenue optimization conference in Singapore, you have an opportunity to get some learning and insights from these classes. So a lot of sessions from our conferences and from the academy are on our YouTube channel. Do access our videos there. Follow us on these social platforms. The link is right here. And for any other information that you need, we are available at info@hsmai-asia.org. So join the mission, because we are open for membership. If you're interested, please reach us. Now, I wanted to introduce you to our panel. Joining us for this topic today, my pleasure to introduce Jackie Douglas, the president of HSMAI Asia Pacific and the global chair for the HSMAI Academy. Glenn Grosek, who is the managing director for HSMAI Southeast Asia. And our esteemed speakers, Michael Bouchette, senior corporate director, commercial for APAC region for Rosewood Hotel Group, and Presley Barreto, the senior regional sales manager from Cvent. Before I hand over to Presley, I will just highlight a few housekeeping rules. We do have a Q&A box. Please post your questions there so that we can address them and take them on after the speakers have finished. For anything else, please put it in the Q&A. Thank you, and Presley, over to you.
Thank you, Sonia. That was a good start to our presentation. And it's always good to see some pictures of business professionals standing right next to each other without a mask. I don't know when was the last time I saw something like that. So clearly we're moving forward from the pandemic. And those are some of the insights that we'll be sharing with you during our presentation today. The subject of our presentation is the future of mice and embracing the new industry paradigm by thinking digitally. My name is Presley Barreto, and I am a senior regional sales manager with Cvent. I've been with Cvent for over 10 years now, and currently I manage all of the hotel and corporate partnerships in North Asia, which includes Japan, China, South Korea, and India. Now let's take a quick look at what I will be covering for you during the next 15 minutes. Firstly, we'll be getting into some sourcing numbers. So we'll be taking a look at the current landscape or the sourcing landscape in Hong Kong, followed by planner priorities in 2022. And finally, some digital tools which will help you hoteliers to drive more MICE business. So let's get straight into it. The sourcing trends for Hong Kong, what you see in front of you, or in fact, on the extreme right, are the unique room nights, which, as you can see, has seen an increase of 184% as compared to the same time last year. Now, before I move on, let me tell you that these sourcing numbers are for the month for 2022, so from January 1st right up till the 31st of July. And normally when you see an increase in the number of room nights, that always corresponds to an increase in the value of business that comes through in a region. And clearly you can see that the value of business that came into Hong Kong was increased by 261% as compared to the same time last year. Now, it's very important to know where is this business coming from into Hong Kong, and it's coming in from India, Hong Kong, USA, and China. Now, if you look towards the left, and we'll be looking at this pie chart in more detail in some of the slides after this slide. This pie chart is basically to tell you that there are two types of RFPs that are currently coming into Hong Kong. One type is just for conference only or conference space, and the other one is for meeting space and bedrooms. Now, currently, you can see that it is being dominated by the meeting space RFPs only. And there is about 34% of the total volume of business that came through into Hong Kong was for meeting space and sleeping rooms. So just to quickly summarize this slide, I think there's a lot of positivity on this slide. You can see clearly that the RFP values, the room nights have increased, which means that there is more RFPs coming in, there's more business coming into Hong Kong. It's not just locally driven from Hong Kong, but also international destinations like India and the US are sourcing extensively. And the type of RFP that's coming through is no longer just a meeting space RFP only, but there's a shift in paradigm and there are more bedroom requests coming through as well. As I mentioned, I'll be looking into this pie chart a little bit more in detail, but let's take a look at how the size of the business is getting impacted. Now, what you see in front of you is the green bar, which is for 2021, and the blue bar is 2022. Now, when you see the attendee size, that's the first one here, which is 1 to 25. Don't be disappointed if you see a lower blue graph, because it just shows that there are fewer RFPs, which are for a smaller sized RFP that are coming through. And what that simply means is, as again, there's a shift in paradigm. There are the larger RFPs coming through in greater numbers, and that's what hoteliers wanted. It shows a very big positive trend that meeting planners are moving away from the traditional sourcing of during the pandemic, which was essentially just 0 to 10 people, 15 people, gradually increased to about 25 people. And now you can see that meeting planners are a little bit more comfortable in sourcing 25 to 50 people, 100 to 200, so on and so forth. And every group has seen an increase. Now, this is the pie chart I was referring to, and this is actually a very important slide, because if you were speaking to me, say, about a year ago, then you can see here or rather this one here is the chart or pie chart for a year ago, and you can see about 80% of the business was meeting space only, which simply meant that meeting planners didn't have, say, the confidence to source RFPs which were for bedrooms. Secondly, a lot of the attendees and the guests weren't really comfortable in staying in hotels because there was so much about social distancing happening a year ago. But as you can see now, the chart is slowly changing. We're seeing fewer meeting space RFPs only and more RFPs come through. Well, nearly double the number of RFPs just in a year's time, which is now 34% in terms of sleeping rooms and bedrooms. Now, just something I wanted to mention here is that our industry was impacted by the pandemic, and just like every industry, for about 2.5 years. So it's something, the resurgence of our industry is not going to happen overnight. It's going to be step by step, because there are a lot of factors that need to be taken into account in terms of how many waves come through and what's the impact that the pandemic has in different regions. But the good part is that for the first time in, say, 2.5 years, we have in all of the countries in Asia open their borders in one go, which is a very big positive sign. And with that positivity, I think a lot of meeting planners that are changing their sourcing patterns. They're sending out RFPs which are diverse in nature and are also larger than what they were sourcing same time last year. So these 3 slides have actually shown us that we are moving slowly away from the pandemic. Now, here's a slide to show what is the future of Hong Kong. What are the meeting planners saying in terms of sourcing into Hong Kong? And if you look at right up till Q4 of 2023, then we have some sourcing volumes already sent through the Cvent Supplier Network. There are, of course, 2 types of meeting planners. The first ones are the ones who are taking a lot of this positivity that we've seen on the slides and are sourcing right now. Whereas there are meeting planners who are a little bit conservative and are sourcing maybe now for a little distant future. So as you can see, we've seen some RFPs which have come through for the more recent quarters. We've got about $87,000 worth of business that is sourced in the current quarter. For Q4, we've got about 37,000. And it seems more like a lot of these sourcings are impacted by the current quarantine laws which govern Hong Kong. And as a result, we're seeing more, I think the quarantine laws, as I know, might be released by September or maybe October. And post that, we might see bigger numbers come through for the following quarters. But as you can see, there's more RFP value being sourced in 2023 as opposed to 2022. Now, here is something which would be of big interest to you, the ADRs, which is something that a lot of hoteliers are trying to figure out. What's the right price to quote to planners? Here is a 3-year view of how the ADRs have fluctuated. Now, the blue bar is the one for 2020. We have the green bar, which is not here in January, but is for 2021. And then we have a purple bar, which is for 2022. Now, clearly, if you just breeze through this slide from left to right, you can see the purple bars are the tallest bars, which simply means that 2022 is where hoteliers are back to proposing nearly the same rates that they were proposing in 2019, which is a very good sign again. So all in all, if you were to ask me firstly what's happening in Hong Kong, then to summarize these performance numbers, I would say that we're seeing definitely a lot of business come through from international quarters. The size of the businesses are increasing, which is also resulting in more value associated for RFP, which means that if you have the most effective bid amongst all hotels, you could actually be winning a good sized revenue for your hotel. And feel free to test the waters, test the market with your ADRs. That's the best way for you to figure out how the markets are responding when it comes to MICE. Now, just to add to these facts, I think it's also very important to understand what our planners saying in 2022. Now we have a full planner sourcing report for Asia. If you'd like this planner sourcing report, you can reach out to myself. You can reach out to my colleague Vipul. Drop your emails to us in the chat box and we can send this entire planner report for you. For now, we're going to be focusing on a few, or rather some key insights from our planner report. Now, before we get into the report, I'd just like to mention that around about towards Q2 of this year, we commissioned an independent research company by the name of Census Wide to survey Asian-based meeting planners. Now, this report is based on survey responses from at least 200 organizations, planner organizations, which included event planners, managers, directors across Asia who are responsible for their sourcing. So we're getting a lot of these insights from the horse's mouth. And in the next few slides, we will cover some key insights. Let's take a look at this. Now, let's begin with the sourcing status for planners in Hong Kong and how that compares with other major MICE destinations in Asia. Now, as a whole, 90% of planners across Asia reported that they have restarted in-person sourcing, which again is music to all our ears. Nearly 40% of planners reported they will mostly source in-person events in 2020. So a lot of the dormant meeting planners who probably have stayed away from a lot of MICE platforms, and that includes Cvent, they will be making their foray, or rather they will start sourcing during some time of 2022, and that's going to be in-person events. Now, Hong Kong has remained top in terms of the feeder market regions with an average of 50 unique RFPs flowing into Hong Kong from over the last 12 months. Now, as you can see, planners sourcing by region, then it is mainly Singapore, India, and Thailand, and there are no surprises because these countries have had very low cases. They had their borders open and they are good to go in terms of doing MICE business. So no surprises with seeing these three countries on the chart. Just to quickly summarize the top expectations from our meeting planners. Firstly, it's collaboration. So planners don't have all the answers because the environment is absolutely dynamic. You know that we are all embracing this new environment. And what the expectation from meeting planners is that they want to work with hotels that and able to find solutions for any kind of challenges that might appear. You know, conducting events in these dynamic environments is not going to be easy, but instead of saying a no, they'd rather work with you and find a solution on how they can have their events hosted conveniently. The next part is agility. They want hotels to adapt to the changing environment. So they understand that this is not the easiest of environments to start meeting and events, but they want hotels to be agile. They want their workforce to be agile in these changing environments. The next one is forward thinking. If hotels can meet the new market requirements, this will of course go a long way. They want you to be thinking out of the box, providing new services, new solutions, new way of doing events. It is a new start for us all. So every solution could just be a great resolution for meeting planners to conduct their events. And lastly is efficiency. Just because there are less people, expectations for effective processes are still high. So what they're expecting is collaboration, thinking out of the box, being more effective, and staying ahead of the curve and thinking far ahead of our times. Now, that's a quick look at what the planners are expecting from hoteliers, which brings us to the final part of our presentation here, which is where we will talk about some of the ways of how automation and technology can help you meet the planner expectations and also overcome some efficiencies. So why is automation needed? This is a very important question. So let's consider mobile banking. Now you have an app sitting in your phone. Back in the day, say, let's go back, say 5 or 7, maybe 10 years. If you wanted to do a funds transfer, you'd actually have to go into a physical bank, drop in a check. I also remember inserting the check into a machine, and then eventually a day later, the recipient would receive the money. If you think about, small things like wanting to see your bank statements, you'd have to wait till the end of the month where you get a paper statement that gradually transitioned into online statements. And that's when the customer actually got empowered. If you think about it, mobile banking or banking wasn't that convenient globally. Yes, we all had debit cards, but to keep a track of your money wasn't the easiest. So just to come back, I think it's important to allow the user to have everything on their fingertips. It's great that banks have been able to transition out of the manual processes successfully. I think a self-serve environment is vital because it allows you to stimulate a more meaningful dialogue with the customer. And it also helps you take care of a lot of redundant tasks, things that are not even required in your processes. You're actually removing them so that the customer actually gets exactly what they need within minutes of their interaction. So it saves them time and it saves them, a lot of energy. Now, that's the sort of relationship we want hotels to have with planners in managing their room blocks. Which brings us to, a very important question. Do hotels need automation? Is it really the need of the hour? Well, in my opinion, I think manual processes are very time consuming. I think there are a few things that we can remove or we can take off, which will allow which will make lives of meeting planners a little bit more easier, more convenient, and that's what you want to do. That's one of the things that will also help you stay ahead of your competitors. I think it's important to have some services where planners can just service themselves. I think just to add to that, hotel staff being asked to do more with less is something that we all need to take into account when we answer this question for ourselves. And event RFPs and requirements have evolved post the pandemic. There've been quite a lot of changes. So we need to transition or pivot to the newer way of doing things, and profits matter. So why give unnecessary dollars to OTAs, right? So to top that, planner expectations have changed drastically post the pandemic. In our previous planner surveys, we had reported over 47% planners within Asia expected greater automation and efficiency in events and group accommodations. Now, a trend that has only grown year on year as today's planners are heavily reliant on automation to support remote planning and contactless experiences. Now, the flip side, what has triggered this leap to automation on the hotel side? Well, let's take a look. What are the key objectives of any MICE-focused hotel today? Firstly, it's maximizing exposure. Secondly, it's increasing efficiency. Thirdly, it is driving revenue. Now, what if it was an easy and affordable way to counter all of this, helping you save time and resources, but also increasing revenue? Now, I'd say that would be the perfect scenario for any hotel. And with this in mind, we came up with revamped targeted solutions for hotels and destinations, tools that are designed keeping the challenges of a post-pandemic world in mind. So we have we've broken down our solutions into 4 neighborhoods, you can say. The first one, which you see on the extreme left, is marketing and advertising solutions, which help you build awareness, build a brand, generate RFPs, and run complete marketing campaigns at scale to be omnipresent in front of meeting planners. The next part is the sales bit, where with everything, essentially our sales software provides you with just about everything you need to organize, track, build better relationships with your leads, with customers, with connected systems to manage customer relationships. The third part of our solutions is operations, which is mainly to drive efficiency. And here we have solutions to help you connect with customers, thereby exceeding expectations and drive more profit once the business in-house is consistently delivering efficient service. Lastly, we have a transient platform, which is known as the Cvent Transient Platform, which gives you access to the biggest corporate travel market space. And there's much more to each of these, depending on the size and the goal of each hotel. We are open to, we typically do customize the approach for each hotel, and we design what's best suited for each hotel based on, of course, a variety of factors. Now, we have a bunch of complementary tools and resources that hotels can leverage to get started. And if you'd like to discuss any of that data specific to your property, you want to know more about MICE automation, simply type a yes in the chat box and we'd be happy to continue the conversation with you. So some of the key takeaways from today, I know we've covered quite a bit. I just want to quickly summarize what we have covered. Firstly, new sourcing priorities are driving planner decision-making. We discussed today how planner expectations and priorities for 2022 include even more collaboration and transparency. Now, taking a step further from safer meeting setups, digital presence, which have been key themes since 2020. Agility is critical to regain market share and planner confidence, and it's also key in what may have worked before might not work now. So as market is evolving, so are the demands, and so is the requirement for you to evolve with it. And finally, automation. Through tech remains the most important pivot to increase your efficiency and output in this environment. Across your My Sales, marketing, and operational setups, we are here to assist you with this. If you'd like to know more, once again, type a yes, I'd be more than happy to assist you. Thank you, and that is it from my end. Over to you, Mikhail.
Very good, fantastic. Thank you, Presley. So good morning, good afternoon, everyone. This is Michael. Greetings from Shanghai. So today I'm just going to talk a bit about the Hong Kong market and MICE groups in this market. So I think the first thing to start with is really restriction. So we've seen restriction being lessened in Hong Kong. It used to be 7 days. Sorry, it is now 3 days plus 4. So that is definitely going the right direction. Hong Kong remains in between the rest of Southeast Asia, who has removed quarantine in most of the countries, and mainland China, which is still imposing 7 days plus 3, at least for most of the destination in mainland China. So Hong Kong is kind of a hybrid in between. So at the same time, that's good from a mainland China perspective, but I think from the Western perspective or from outside of Hong Kong, this is also still something that is going against Hong Kong as a destination. There are restrictions at the moment in terms of events, so you can do only maximum 120 people for events, but there is no restriction for rooms. Now, it's due for renew actually today, so maybe by tonight we'll be able to have a new update on whether those restrictions are continuing or being lessened. I think what we see from a quarantine perspective is when you look at the inbound into Hong Kong. So again, while from mainland China, that seems much better, 3 days plus 4. Actually, when you look at it from a Western point of view, this is actually still quite a lot. And I was talking recently with a colleague of mine who moved out actually from Hong Kong back into Europe. And he told me the mindset is very different there. And I haven't been in Europe in 3 years, but the mindset is very different, where people don't have appetite for quarantine, even 3 days, and they don't even have the patience for this. So when you look at Hong Kong as a destination, 3 days is still actually something that prevent people from coming to Hong Kong on quite a few factors there. So it's getting better, but we still have a few more steps to take. Also, when you look at the demand, there's still a significant amount of demand, which is in Hong Kong for Hong Kong. Again, people being not moving that much outside of Hong Kong, and not many inbound into Hong Kong. What we see with that Hong Kong for Hong Kong demand is that it's a very weekend demand. It's actually quite interesting, where companies actually do a lot more on weekends, or look for events on weekend, which actually in Hong Kong, the peak days in terms of occupancy is really weekend. So actually it's kind of a compression of demand into weekends, which doesn't always work well for all the hotels. You have to sometimes check in terms of how much are you displacing in terms of leisure demand or staycation demand, especially. Staycation has been very, very strong for the past 3 years in Hong Kong. So I talked about quarantine. I think the quarantine will impact the destination for the moment, but hopefully going into 2023, we can see some movement, and that can help Hong Kong as a destination. I think once the quarantine will be lifted or really reduced to very minimal, I think Hong Kong will emerge as a destination again, because so many people haven't been to Hong Kong in such a long time, that actually this is going to help destination. And I think there's going to be a lot of initiative by the local government and etc. in promoting the destination. So definitely Hong Kong will also hopefully help mainland China in opening differently. So this is really about the destination and what we see at the moment. I think when it comes to like, what have we learned and what do we look forward with Hong Kong as a market, I think the hybrid model is there to stay for a while. And one of the reasons is because Hong Kong is so connected with mainland China, and there is a kind of difference in terms of quarantine. It's not that easy actually to come from mainland China to Hong Kong and then back to mainland China. There is a quarantine aspect, but there is also the limitation. It's very difficult to find a flight. And even those who cross at the Shenzhen border, it's only 2,000 people per day who can actually move from Hong Kong to Shenzhen, to mainland China. So I think the hybrid model will continue to be relevant for a while, especially for anything where Hong Kong would include mainland China as kind of an audience. So you may have people flying into Hong Kong, but those based in mainland China may join virtually or remotely, and therefore the hybrid model is probably here to stay for a while. I think from a hotel perspective, definitely I was talking about patience and patience with quarantine. I think there is also a lack of patience when it comes, maybe not a less patience than before when it comes to meeting bookers, and definitely the first proposal that you send to the client has to be the best one. There's no rebidding or anything that you may have seen pre-COVID, where you may have a chance to change your offer or to review your rates, etc., because you're shortlisted or something like that. I think this is a trend that has really changed post-COVID, and that nobody gives a second chance, I think. So it's really important that when you give your proposal, it is the best that it can be, but also it's as fast as can be. Now, maybe there's still some differences between mainland China and Hong Kong, and we have another webinar on mainland China where we can talk about speed. But it's quite clear that even in Hong Kong, the speed and the efficiency, Presley was talking about efficiency, the efficiency in how you reply to the guest is really, really important. One thing that we have seen also developing post-COVID as a trend is how do you use differently the meeting spaces and really what the guests are looking for. So one trend that we've seen, for example, is really looking outside the normal meeting room, and how do you use the different spaces in your hotel to propose that as a meeting space or an event space for the guests. So we've seen, for example, how some hotels use high-end suites, for example, for smaller meetings. You know, when you want to do a product launch, for example, or something like that, it's actually retrospectively, we can see that it's actually even better when you do it, for example, in one of the top suites, rather than in a normal, if I may say, meeting room. And that comes the same with restaurants, that comes the same with public spaces. There is a lot that actually post-COVID, people are really looking at things differently, and hotels need to show great flexibility. So there are instances, for example, where clients request the whole private function area, or etc. We need to be very flexible in how you sell that, and obviously that comes down to your revenue management strategy on how do you optimize on this. I think the other thing is really the organizer today are very mindful of cancellation terms in deposit and etc. Because there's so many factors that actually impact how much you can run your meeting. So we're talking about flights, for example. It's very difficult to find flights, right, into Hong Kong or in quite a few destinations in Southeast Asia. Not even talking about China. So there is really a lot where event organizers are expecting a lot of flexibility when it comes to cancellation, when it comes to payment of deposit or deposit being refunded because the event is canceled or postponed, etc. So I think the flexibility that the hotel need to have also comes with the contract itself. So I talked about how everything is faster post-COVID, and faster comes also when it comes to lead time. What we see is that the lead time is very, very short compared to pre-COVID. So it's getting, we're getting more and more inquiries, obviously, but it's very, very short term. As probably the chart from Presley was showing, where Q3, Q4 of 2022 is really where most of it comes. There's not that much yet for 2023. And again, maybe as a last point, I think, a lot of us, and we're talking about how HSMAI had no in-person event for a really long time. Many companies, organizations are in this situation where they haven't met in person for a really long time. So when you actually do the first one, post that long period of time, it needs to be really special. And this is where the hotel and the flexibility, the innovation, the how much they have to provide to the client is really important, and how you differentiate yourself. If a company has to do a big event of 200+ person, and they haven't had anything like that for 3 years, how do you stand out from the other hotel in proposing a solution that will really stand out from the competition? Maybe last point, so I said the previous one was the last one. The last one maybe is on storytelling and a bit related to this. I think most of the hotel today need storytelling in how they are selling the hotel. There is a lot of inventory, Hong Kong or a lot of other markets. So you really distinguish yourself through storytelling. So it's a very important skills for our sales and professional and hotels in general. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, for this really good insights, Presley and Mikhail. I will now invite some questions from the audience or from any of our speakers also here, if anybody has any questions. I know I have one. Okay, so my question is actually for Mikhail. So, you mentioned about the strategizing on the event space layout, and location is seems to be coming across as prime importance, and these things either the hotel has it or doesn't. But how does it translate to, the sales management and the relationship management with those clients? Being a hotelier, can you share some strategies for hotels to adopt in this case?
Yeah, that's a great question, Sonia. Thank you very much. I think you're right that we are all constrained by what we have, right? Every hotel is constrained by its capacity, by the event space that they've got, etc. So it's always about how you make the most out of that. And I would think that you need to adapt every time to each of the guests in proposing the best proposal that you can be. Yes, it may not always be extremely optimal, but I think you can always, when you give a proposal to a guest, you can always put in there something really special that will help your bid in actually getting that lead. So whether it's in event space, whether it's in F&B, whether it's you have anything special in your hotel, like a meeting space that is at the top of your tower, if you have, for example, or you have a special location, you can maybe partner with some other organization outside of the hotel to do activities or anything charity related, for example. So I think what's really important is to use everything that you have at your disposal to give the best proposal and to really think outside the box. Like, again, meetings where people would just come in, stay in a theater style, ballroom for all day long, etc. I think those ones are really behind us, and people are really looking for something innovative and really different. And we've all been in Zoom call for really, really a long time. So those first few in-person events, how do you make them really special? How do you make them that they stand out from anything you've seen before? And how do you use the local aspect? Like Hong Kong has a lot of things to offer in terms of destination. So I would really encourage any hotel to make the most out of that. When you come from, imagine you come from outside of Hong Kong, you haven't been to Hong Kong in 3 years or more, how do you create the best experience for your guests and for the attendees to that meeting in coming to Hong Kong and experiencing Hong Kong again for the first time in 3 years?
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that, Mikhail. I will also invite any more questions.
I have a question, just probably for Michael and Presley. Obviously, in all the aspects of commercial for hotels, I mean, what's really becoming apparent is technology is going forward. There's been a quantum leap, and technology is really going to reduce costs and automation and so forth. But how do we see that in terms of what Presley was saying about, that really becoming a key factor in driving the revenue and efficiencies? From a hotel's perspective, have they sort of assessed, what are the costs of implementation and the returns, and also the people power, different skill sets required to maximize that technology? Is that being seen as an opportunity or yet another thing that we have to gravitate to? Is it a bit of a challenge for hotels?
Okay, maybe I'll go first. I need to say think about it. I think the technology is always a disturbance, right? So every time there is new technology coming up, then it's a disturbance to our business. We have to adapt again to this, and being based in mainland China, I could tell you how the new technology, everything that is happening here is really disturbing the hotel industry. So yeah. I think it's a lot about embracing it first. There is definitely a cost to some of the things. Not everything comes at a cost. So you implement a new revenue management system, or you implement a new, a new property management system or something that is better. Yes, there would be a cost. And the ROI is not always easy to calculate. So you need to be very clear in how you calculate your ROI. But the way forward is always to embracing technology. We're talking about metaverse and Web3 and etc. and all those things. While they may already impact some of the other industries, they will come to us at some point. We're talking about hybrid meetings. I guess at some point Web3 will impact this, and how do you make it better? Maybe in 2 years' time we'll do meetings differently than just having hybrid with Zoom or something like that. So always being on top of technology is very important. it is definitely an investment for hotels, and for not every hotel can afford it. But the point, I think, is always trying to find the best solution for what you need. So I give you an example, and maybe it's very small, but maybe pre-COVID, people were sending a lot of things through traditional email, through PDF, and etc. Nowadays, you don't necessarily do that anymore, right? You could do it through WhatsApp, you can do it through WeChat here, etc. So you can build solution within those ecosystem to actually do it a lot better. So I give you an example, and maybe that's a mainland China example, but we don't send any more PDF through WeChat. We send like a link or like a WeChat moment where we introduce the hotel, or we have the group proposal, or etc. etc. And it's small, it doesn't cost that much, but it makes a big difference in how the client is experiencing the hotel. Yes, that's how I would say.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I agree with Mikhail. I think those are some very, very good points. I think technology is, of course, the way moving forward. I don't think there's anything that can disrupt that. But I do feel that not every part of our industry is going to be taken over by technology. I think we still need to be cognizant about where human emotion is going to play a very key role. I know it's, if you think about it, it actually is heading into that direction where everything's going to be AI, and maybe human beings might be made redundant at one point of time. But I think the way moving forward is embracing technology, like Mikhail said. But at the same time, I don't think every decision can be made by technology. I think we need to be a little picky, a little choosy about which part of our business needs technology, which part of our business is you know, the manual labor needs to go out, and where we need to keep continuing with the human workforce. So I think some very important decisions that a lot of key senior leaders and key businesses need to make. But I definitely feel that there are certain things that we've identified in hotels that can be replaced. But when we say replaced, it still needs a human being to operate it. It's not like, you know, it just replaces a human being completely. So yeah, I think it's going to be a good mix. It's going to be a good say 3 to 4 years when technology starts taking over. So it's going to be a good eye opener for us all.
Sure. Thank you. I think we can change tack from tech into Jackie. I believe you might have a question. Oh, I mean, okay, Jackie, I think she may be on mute, but I've got another question for Mikhail then is, in terms of the Hong Kong, China situation, in terms of the quarantines, especially in China, obviously that's massive for the rest of the world, certainly in Asia, in terms of the China traveler, we're all feeling it, whether you're in Thailand or in Philippines or wherever the Chinese used to travel to. From sitting inside the situation there is, I mean, is there a hope that this might turn around? Like, you know, certainly by the end of this year, we might start seeing some more Chinese travelers outside of the main, you know, coming out into broader Asia.
That sounds like the $1 trillion question, right?
I had to ask it. Yeah.
Well, I frankly don't think things will change for this year. I think we'll have to wait for at least mid of next year to see some movement. It's when it will reopen, it will definitely not be suddenly the floodgate open and you have 500 million people who travel outside of China. It's not gonna be that easy, if I may say, for hotels and destination outside of China. So it will be gradual. I see it happening from, I would say, Q2 next year going to probably 2024, gradually. I think Hong Kong will play a very important part because that's kind of the getaway between, if I may say, the world and mainland China. So I think that will definitely help in there. And Hong Kong going down, you can see actually how it's kind of coordinated when China moved from 7+7 to 7+3. Few days after, Hong Kong moved from 7 days to 3+4, which is really changing quite a lot for Hong Kong, especially people who actually live in Hong Kong. So Hong Kong will help in the long term. It will start, I think, from the business travel more than leisure first. And I think there is one component to take in consideration is passport and how many passports have expired in China and need renewal. And that will also not be something that comes that quickly or that easily. So it takes time in getting all that back on the road.
Yeah, and that certainly makes sense. I mean, that Hong Kong will kind of open to the world first, and it'll be there. But it'll be great to see. I mean, Hong Kong's one of the greatest, cities on the planet, without a doubt. So it'd be great to Hong Kong
Absolutely.
to be back being a more frequently visited city.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
no, definitely. And the change from 7 days to 3+4 is really making a big difference.
Big,
but again, it's a lot about the perception and the mindset, and I'm literally telling you, I was talking to a counterpart of mine who is in Europe now. People don't have the patience for 3 days. So if we want Hong Kong to really reopen, it will have to go down to 1 day or even less, right? And it will be the same for China. It's actually quite time consuming to be 10 days in quarantine. You only do it if you have to do it. So to make it seamless and really easy, there will be some movement to change, and it will take a bit of time, take some more time.
Yeah, I totally agree. Thoroughly.
Okay.
And sorry, Sonia, if no one's got one more, I'm just very curious about the buyer's market, the planners only getting one proposal, you've got one shot. Is that just purely because it's a buyer's market? I mean, every hotel needs the business, and meeting organizers, it's a great thing to have. So do you think that's the main reason, just the usual economics of supply and demand?
I think it's also a consumer change of behavior, where maybe less time than before. I think we all have learned to be more efficient than we were pre-COVID, and I think for the companies who are our clients is very similar also. So I think they're using solutions like Cvent and others to get the right, what they really need, and then yes, they review based on what they've got, and they will go directly talk to the 1 or 2 hotels that they're really interested with. So that's the way that I see it.
Mm-hmm. Sonia?
Okay, fantastic. So if no more questions, I'm wondering if we have about 2 minutes for a poll. Jackie?
Yeah, I don't know if there's enough people, but we can give it a go, will we?
Vipul, should we go ahead?
Yeah, we'll give it a go.
Okay.
Okay, so you should see the poll on the screen.
Yes.
Or the hoteliers there. If you can.
Yes, please
Sorry,
take
you
the
won't
poll,
know what
guys,
you've answered.
from the audience. Nikhil can take it too.
Yes, I actually cannot vote. Interesting.
It's not letting you answer.
I don't think the speakers are allowed to answer. Yeah.
Oh,
We are the neutral, exactly.
Yes, we must remain Switzerland in this case.
Okay, well, we'll end that one. We'll see if we can get. Yeah, you can see the results, I think.
Does look still very low compared to
Yeah.
pre-pandemic level, yes.
yeah.
Okay, there's one more question, I think. How do I get to the next one? Here we go. Next question. Okay, launch. How much do you think in-person events will change in 2023 compared to pre-pandemic? This is all the people who like crystal balls, like Mikhail.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Oh, there's optimism. Yes.
Yes,
there it
good.
is. Somewhat more.
We can all start planning.
HSMAI are planning. We're trying to help.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. Well, that's good. There's none the same or less. So
Hmm.
But yeah, 2023, I think everybody is expecting it to be better in terms of in-person events than 2022.
yeah.
But as Michael said, I think the standard of these events will be hybrid for a long time to come, or if forever now going forward. There'll be people who can't make the event and they can come in virtually and so forth. So, and then once you bring VR into it or so forth, yeah, it's going to be very interesting.
Yeah. So hotels have a lot of stuff to do at their end to make it more appealing to have those events happen at their property. All right, so if nobody has any questions, then we will call it a day. So thank you all for joining in and have a great day ahead. Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
Bye.
Bye-bye.